Turnt Up with the Taylors is a hilarious short-form comedy series on Facebook Watch starring Keke Palmer, Keke Palmer, Keke Palmer, Keke Palmer, and Keke Palmer. I'm Rob LaCouria, Senior Editor at Gold Debbie, here with Miss Keke Palmer, who scored her first ever primetime Emmy nomination for Actress in a Short-Form Comedy or Drama Series. Keke, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so cool to hear you say that.
Yeah, I know, right? You will always now forever be known as Emmy nominee, Keke Palmer. Does that feel good?
That feels pretty. It's definitely, it's definitely an accomplishment when you can, if you do what you love, but it's another thing to be acknowledged for it.
Yeah, I mean, you're no stranger to awards and nominations. You've racked up plenty of them in your, relatively short career to date. You're still so young.
Thank you.
And you've got a daytime Emmy nomination. But the TV Academy for the Primetime Emmys, it's real prestige. How does it feel to be recognised by the TV Academy for your work on this show?
It's definitely huge. Like you said, it immediately puts you in such great company. The people that have received the awards or have received the nominations, they are people that I aspire to be like or work who I've loved. So to be in that same category in conversation, it just feels good. You know what I mean? When I did Turnt Up with the Taylors, I did it because it was a passion. So again, to be acknowledged for something and for people to applaud you in any way, it's definitely like, it's a good warm feeling.
I know it's kind of cliche. I love to ask when people are nominated, where were you and how did you find out? And do you have a funny story about the day that you found out you were nominated?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of filming Nope, actually, this new movie I'm doing with Jordan Peele and Daniel Kaluuya, as well as Stephen Ewan. I'm very excited about it. And so I heard about it right before I went to set. And it was so cool because when it's like I woke up, it was a late call because we were doing some late shoots. So I woke up, probably like noon because I was up late the night before. And then I seen my phone was like not working. Like my phone screen, it was like every time I tapped, it wouldn't respond. But I kept seeing like all these messages of like, from all these people. And I'm like, okay, I get text messages, but I don't get text messages like this. I'm like, why is there 100 messages from different people? So when I finally got into my phone, I kept seeing like, congratulations on your Emmy nom. Congratulations on your Emmy nom. I'm like, what? I'm nominated for an Emmy? This is crazy. And so then later on, when I finally got on my way to set, the whole crew was like clapping for me and like congratulations and saying congratulations to me. And it was just really sweet. It was so sweet.
Wow, you'll never forget that, I think
I will never forget that.
Yeah, for the rest of your life.
I gotta journal it down.
So right, and you're on the set on Nope with like Oscar winners, Daniel Kaluuya, Jordan Peele, Stephen Yeun was just nominated. So I mean, it's pretty great company for them to be like, yay, good job, Keke. Yeah. That's amazing. So let's set up the premise. So you play 5 members of the Taylor family who have starred in their reality show for a long time on the OMG network, which sounds like horrifying and hilarious at the same time. So where did this idea come from?
So the character Chelsea, who's the lead or the star of it, I guess you would say, Chelsea Barbie Taylor, she came from, I would see all growing up, different celebrities, usually white American having Black children, they would adopt Black children. And I always thought to myself, what does that mean? Black is, such a thing where sometimes people think it's a monolith where if you're Black, you have to abide by these certain cultural things, etc. But it's really not about your skin color. It's really about your background, where you grew up, what was interesting to you at that time. If people were listening to classical music growing up, then maybe you're going to like classical. You're not, just because you're Black, it doesn't mean you love hip hop. And so this character came into my mind of what it would be like to be a Black child born in a different culture, American culture, like with white parents, and how would they act and how other people would perceive them. So that's how that character came about, which is, me playing this character with blonde hair that's kind of like, talks very valley, like, it's me, Chelsea, like what would that person live like? And then as things started to develop, I started to kind of create this family with my partner, Max Wyeth, and we joined teams with Kids at Play who produced it as well on Facebook. And we came up with Turnt Up with the Taylors because they were like, it would be so cool if we created this family and we started to, see different characters that you could play. And I'm like, I'm down. One of my heroes is obviously Eddie Murphy and love Martin Lawrence. And so I'm down to try and really go in because I love playing characters. And that's how we created Turnt Up with the Taylors, kind of in this laughing of the reality TV show world, but then also with the character Barbie, Chelsea Barbie Taylor, to also express a different version of Black, It's not just one thing. Here you have this character that is, she's not a stereotype.
No, I'm glad there's so much to unpack there. Like the Barbie character to me is so fascinating because that's the first thing I started to realize. Okay, so she's kind of like a Paris Hilton-y kind of Beverly Hills, rich girl, and she just happens to be African American, and that's so refreshing. Like, you're right. Black people are not part of a monolithic culture. We're all people, and we all come from where we come from.
Yes.
And so I'm just wondering, do you get much feedback about that character? Because I love her, and I thought I was going to really despise her. And no, she's just so likable. Why do you think that is?
I think it's unexpected. I don't think people know exactly why they like it. You know what I mean? They don't necessarily go as deep as we're going in this conversation about the inception of the character. But I think essentially that is what they like, is that she's different. She's not expected. She doesn't match how she sounds. Like, when I first put the character out on my Instagram page, a lot of my friends thought it was a voiceover, like that I dubbed my voice kind of thing. And I'm like, no, that's really me doing that voice, And so I think that's what they draw to, is that she seems quite unique, or, a combination of things that you maybe haven't really seen together before. But most of all, maybe they also see that I'm having fun with it. And I think that always helps.
It certainly does. And then you raise Eddie Murphy, Martin Lawrence. And I was also thinking about, Second City TV and Saturday Night Live, and how some of those comedians are just so good at playing different characters, maybe with some prosthetic makeup. And so you're right up there with them, playing like Gammy Tay, for example, which I would say is my favorite, actually, to be honest, of the 5. I love a good old lady. A good old lady. Geez, you do the old lady good. So, like, give me an example of what you're doing in your head when you've got the Gammy Tay on and you're like, okay, now I need to play an old lady.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest, for me, it all has to do with what you were talking about. Like, obviously, we were on a specific budget when it came to this project, but we tried to do as much as we could when it came to the prosthetics and getting the body and the look and the wardrobe and stuff. That, to me, really takes a character to life, And I think the main thing I'm thinking about is differentiation. So I'm thinking about the different things that separate each character from the other, and how I can amp up certain qualities to make sure that, obviously, I'm playing this character, but this character still needs to have their own defined identity. And then I'm just allowing myself to relax into it. And I think as an actor, and acting for as many years as I have, I'm always, watching people. It's just maybe it's a quality that I became skilled at through acting, or maybe it's something I've always had, but I'm always watching and observing people and picking up on different nuances. And I allow those things to come into play when I'm doing a different character. And it was no different with Turnt Up with the Taylors, is that I would just take, from my own thoughts and feelings about what this person would be. And then also picking from, oh, my grandmother would do this, or, oh, my dad does this, when I'm thinking about the character of, Chelsea's father, and I just take all those things, whether it be Rick, whether it be Gammy Tay, whether it be Chelsea or Miranda. And I, just say, okay, this is what I'm thinking. And then I make it my own.
Wow, that's really interesting. So you're taking from personal experience, you're taking from observation, and so just to make this person authentic as possible. Mm-hmm. But then, of course, you have to bring the funny. Otherwise, we're all just watching, for no reason, I suppose. You want to make people laugh. Is there pressure on when you're writing and creating this series and these characters to make it as funny as possible? And did you ever think to yourself, oh, maybe this isn't funny, and ever doubt yourself?
Absolutely. I'm always being objective about it, and if I'm going to laugh at it, and what things make, what is funny to me, and why is something interesting to me. And I think, to your point, it's about really, it's about, oh shoot, I just lost my train of thought because somebody's knocking at the door. Hold on, let me just make sure this is
okay.
I think you're always trying to make sure that, oh, is this funny? You know what I mean? Figuring out what is making something funny. And I think the biggest thing for me is to always be authentic to the character and the truth of the person, and the scenario and the situations that they're experiencing are always going to be the funniest. And so that's what I go with. And then outside of that, I'm very objective. I'm very objective about my performances, and I'm going to be honest and say that's not funny to me. I wouldn't laugh at that, and I also have people around. I think it's important to have a good team where I'll have, my partner, Max, who I worked with for years, or, my mom, even, who's been my acting coach for many years, as well as my business partner. And I make sure that they're there to also help, be that balancing board of, is this funny? And, why, how can I make this better? And improv is something that I've really worked hard with ever since, I did Scream Queens some
Yeah.
about 6, 7 years ago or so. And I was around people like Niecy Nash and even Glenn
Oh, cool.
Powell, and just seeing how they really use that muscle very well. And so I started taking up improv classes just to kind of like understand how to really tap into that world and, really use what comes naturally to me when I need it at the drop of a hat. And of course, doing my Instagram stuff and producing my own content has really allowed me to be able to exercise that skill more and be more comfortable with it.
Yeah, actually, that reminds me, given your prominence on social media, I think there's a really nice synergy there with the short format that Turnt Up with the Taylors is. So it's more of a bite-sized, faster way to consume entertainment, which is what a lot of social media is, particularly TikTok and Instagram Live. There's been a real ascendancy over the last few years in that particular format. And I'm just wondering how you feel about how mainstream it has become, that we consume entertainment now in a more kind of quicker and fast-paced way.
I'm really happy about it because something that is considered a specific style is usually dependent upon money. It's short form because we don't have the money to do the long form. It's this particular way because these are the only cameras that we can use. And so it's great to know that that's been able to become its own kind of, type of art, whether it's a TikTok video or it's Facebook, show, or it's an Instagram TV thing. It becomes its own thing, and it's respected for being its own thing. And it gives a lot of creative freedom for us that aren't always able to do something on a mainstream traditional scale. We can still be able to make something poppy and shiny and awesome in this format. And so I think it's great that that's being acknowledged in that way, because it gives a lot of freedom to the artists. All of us don't have crazy amounts of money to do the productions that we want, but that shouldn't stop us from being able to get our art out there.
True. And then you talk about the objectivity about making something funny, but also I think in the short format, there has to be some pressure to make it really engaging pretty quickly. Otherwise, you're going to keep scrolling. So is that always playing in the back of your mind as well?
Absolutely. Whether you're thinking about the first screenshot they're going to see when they're sliding, or you're thinking about the cliffhanger that you're going to leave them on at the end that's going to make them want to turn the page to the next one. I'm definitely always thinking about that and putting an objective mind when it comes to what do I like? I always ask myself, what do I like? I talk to my brothers and sisters. They're younger than me. They're Gen Z, and Gen Z is, I'm always trying to get into the Gen Z mind. I'm a millennial, but I also want to know what a Gen Z like. And so I definitely am that person that is, I don't just go by my own thoughts. I look and see what is being responded to, and I try to get into the head of my audiences by paying attention to what it is that they like, and why did they love this post that I posted? What is it about this? Oh, they want to talk. They want they want me to share, so I'm going to share. You know what I mean? Like, I try to understand how to really communicate with them. Because it's fun. It's fun for me to know how to get it right.
Yeah, absolutely. You obviously co-created, co-wrote, and produced the 8-episode series. Most of us know you as, a performer, whether it be music or acting, but you actually are really quite busy in all the stuff that you're doing behind the scenes. So on this show, what was probably the most valuable aspect or lesson that you took from your work behind the scenes?
To trust myself in the fact that I've been doing it for so long, because you've been an entertainer, and then you used to being on the front, in the front of the camera, but you don't realize when you start getting into these other opportunities where you could direct, or where you could produce, or where you could write, that you picked up a lot more than you thought you did. And so I think I learned through that situation. And continuously, I've learned through these situations where I continue to put myself in more behind the scenes roles, that I was really on set taking class. I wasn't just acting, but I was watching, and I was learning about the DP and learning what they do, and learning about the key grips and how they're, why they're essential, and sound design. And what I mean? I was picking up a lot of things that I didn't realize. And I think I learned that I need to just trust myself when it's going into these positions. It doesn't mean that I know everything. I need to always remain open, but that I can trust that I know what I'm talking about, and that, I've seen it done enough times to be able to say, hey, why not? Why can't I do it? Why can't I, apply myself, or at least know to get the people who can?
Wow. Yeah, that sounds so rewarding, actually. And as soon as you stop learning, you might as well just kind of give up and do something else.
No, seriously. Yeah. I think it's so important. And I always try to tell people this too. At the end of the day, this is a job. Yes, it's a passion of mine. Yes, I absolutely love entertaining with all of my heart and all of my being. Anybody that knows me knows that. But at the end of the day, it's a job, it's a career. And being an entertainer is not the only interesting job you can have on a set. I mean, there are so many other, I wish I could just tell all the kids there that, you can be somebody that does the production design. You can be the person that, decides to set the space in the room that this character lives in. You can be the prop master, and everything that the actor touches, that's your, you got to make sure that like there's so many different positions that I've always had such interest in and such respect for, that make the actor's job easier.
Yeah. So are we going to see another season? I wasn't quite sure what's happening there. Are you going to make another one?
So it was honestly like a short, limited type of scenario. I mean, in a perfect world, I would continue to expand the world of Turnt Up with the Taylors. For me, I always use social media as a bouncing board for the first step. And usually, most always, it's a personal investment, to show people what I can do and what I'm willing to do, and how I want to build on top of my ideas. So, hopefully, the next time that we do see Turnt Up with the Taylors, that it will be an even more evolved world.
Yes. Okay. So everybody stay tuned on that. Now, before we go, I think you got probably one of your biggest pinch me moments when you were cast in Jordan Peele's upcoming Nope. Like I thought Us and Get Out were some of the best films of the last 10 years, and I've seen them many, many times. So I'm expecting to see Nope at least 10 times on my screen. I know you can't say anything about it, and I know you're going to say it's going to be amazing, but honestly, when you started shooting it, were you just blown away by what this film is going to be?
Yes, I knew immediately. I knew immediately that I had never been a part of a production in this level and regard. I've been in the business for 20 years. They don't make movies like this anymore. So to be on this set and to be working with these talented people, I am just literally like soaking up everything that I possibly can. And Jordan Peele is everything. Jordan Peele is everything I ever hoped, dreamed, and wanted him to be. And so this is an experience of a lifetime. It really is. And I'm going to remember this to the day that I die.
Oh my God, I can't wait to see it. We've got a bit of a wait. In the meantime, you wrapped production on Alice. You were obviously involved in that. That has such a fascinating premise. I'm dying to see that too. So when is that coming out? And can we, what did you think about that one?
Well, right now we're taking it out, and it's trying to figure out everything because, COVID, you don't know what's going to happen with the festivals and all of this kind of stuff, but we're packaging it up and getting it all ready and set to go. The trailer is in. I'm very excited about it. The film is all completed. So I'm happy we've gotten through that, post-production process, and I'm just waiting to share it to the world. I mean, I can't wait. In perfect world for me, I would love to go to schools, colleges, screen the film, have conversation pieces about it, because it's important. It's the topic of freedom. It's the topic of the 70s movement when it came to Black Americans really like kind of going full force in the Black Power movement, and also what that meant to us when we started to lose some of our leaders and everything like that, speaking on the civil rights issues. So it covers so many different things. And I think even though it goes back into the past, which can sometimes be really hard for us, it showcases it in a way where I feel like you can feel a lot of pride at the end. And that for me is the most important part, because I have no problem going back to the history. I'm not ashamed of my history as a Black American woman. I have no reasons to be ashamed by it, but I feel like it's important that when we do tell those stories, that we tell them in a way where our people can be, encouraged and excited at the resilience in which our ancestors have and that we have going forth in the future to change the things that we want to change to make it an equal place.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to that. Thank you for Turnt Up with the Taylors. If you end up doing another season or you do it on another platform, I'm hoping from your observation that you may play an Australian man, maybe.
Okay.
Don't forget. And it's a possibility. And in the meantime, good luck at the Emmys. Well-deserved nomination and congrats.
Thank you so much. Much love to you. Bye-bye.